If you're watching this video, there's a good chance I'm already dead. Many people on many occasions told me if I stand up to these dirtbags, they will kill you. And if you live where I do, you would not doubt this statement. My name is Terry Sunday, and I live in Morgan County, Ohio. And I would appreciate if you took a few minutes to hear my story. Once the media gets a hold of this, they'll only tell you what they want you to hear. Anybody that has the will to stand up for what is right against a corrupt government, whether local, state, or even federal, is classified as crazy, insane, or a terrorist. My story spans almost 30 years. There's so much information, it would be hard to tell in a short time. I'll try to select the most crucial ones so you understand what my life in Ohio has been like. I'm a fourth-generation farmer who grew up on a farm in eastern Pennsylvania. I worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year for a chance to have my dream, my own farm. Unable to afford land back east, I decided to move west. I sold what I could, scraped every penny together I could, and bought 2 small farms in Fayette County, Ohio. I moved 400 miles from everyone and anything I ever knew. Things were hard there, but even so, more so for an outsider. To realize your dream, though, you keep pushing forward. The city built an industrial park above all the land that I owned and farmed. With full knowledge of what it would do to the adjacent farms, they went forward anyways. The flooding was so bad that I could row boats in my fields. The best agriculture attorneys in the state of Ohio stated that he never saw a case with such total disregard of the law. But when they found out the part owner was a state representative, that's the last I ever heard from him. With no choice, I had to leave go of my dreams. When you have no money, you have no legal rights. So I decided to fight him from the inside. And I ran for county commissioner. And boy, did that really piss them off. And they told me they were going to put a bullet in me. I ran anyway. I think I ended up with about 465 votes, but after that, things went from bad to worse. What equipment I could salvage, I left with a friend, and I lived out of my pickup truck for about 2 years. Sometimes people would let me stay in empty houses, just to get out of the weather. I drove truck and stayed in the area trying to make a living. The harassment and threats continued. No one thought I would ever live through this, and I cared even less. Tim McGraw's song, "Live Like You're Dying," became my way of life. I seen a big MIG welder for sale at the Ohio University's college in Athens, and I always wanted one. I didn't expect to live long enough to use it, but what the hell? The welder was junk, but I met a blonde angel there that led me to Morgan County. I thought God was giving me a chance to start over. But for Brenda's sakes, it would have been best if I'd have died in Fayette County. I worked construction in Kentucky and looked for a farm there where we could start a new life. When the opportunity came to work on a large farm where Brenda had helped the owner, I jumped at the chance. We were together and I was farming again. After the first year, they leased us the whole operation. We got married and started our new life on January 1st. It was all downhill from then on. I thought Fayette was bad, but Morgan was much worse. You have no idea what it's like to live in these southern counties unless you live through it. The 1920s in the South is the best way I could explain it to you. I thought I was still in America. I was wrong. They seemed proud that the Oak Ridge boys went on the Johnny Carson show and said if you want to get away with murder, just go to Morgan County, Ohio. But in Morgan, you can even hang yourself without a rope. That's a pretty good trick, ain't it? Drunk driving is legal down here, if you have the right name. That Wilson was drunk 24/7. He'd load his bulldozer on his semi and go anywhere he want. Anytime he was in the neighborhood, you were in danger. I seen him so drunk he could hardly stand, and the sheriff's deputy helped him get his fishing gear out of his vehicle, parked in the middle of a bridge. His family bragged about how they owned the cops, and it was true. You can rape and terrorize little girls without fear of prosecution. It started when she was only 6 and continued many years. When she was old enough to go for help, Sharon was victimized twice. First by this pervert, and second by this county who claimed her to be a whore and a slut and refused to help her. I imagine her sister didn't fare any better. Whether it's cattle or equipment, stealing's just normal business down here. The yahoo stole the aluminum drop deck trailer from a bankrupt oil company. That's federal crime. And it's easily seen from the state highway. The sheriff would not do anything about it, and the FBI told me if it ain't worth $1 million, they don't care either. You can take oil from your neighbor. Being drunk as usual, leave the valve open in the back of the truck and leave a large trail of oil down the road to where you unload what was left. A bus driver stated if she'd have hit that oil slick, there could have been a busload of kids down the ravine. Just an average day in Morgan County. Someone should find out where all that money went for them community action grants. It sure never made it to the people. They do have nice benches around the square so the drug dealers don't need to stand up. These small communities, everyone knows everyone, and your business too. I wish the feds would give that drug dealer from Chester Hill a get out of jail free card for proof of the actual cost of what it takes to do business in Morgan County. They need a bus to haul them all away. There are some very good people living down here though, and they admit that they live in fear. They say it's always been like this and you can't do anything. As soon as their kids are old enough, they make them leave the area. They know that the state and federal government doesn't give a damn about them. Someday they'll have to learn you need to clean up your own house. The harassment and the neighbors continued. Alan Wilson threatened to kill us, and when we found signs with bullet holes and rangefinder marks above where my wife and I was working, I damn near lost it. From then on, I never went anywhere without a loaded gun. I called the state police, and even though they were posted on a public highway, they wouldn't even bother to look at them. They called the sheriff, and a deputy come out and took down one of the signs, but the ones that put them up weren't allowed to be touched. We were afforded no protection of the law. We were on our own. Due to a family matter, the owner leased the farm to his brother-in-law while it was still leased to us. We soon found out the court system was just as corrupt as everything else. We took our lease to an attorney who specializes in farm leases. She assured us it was very good and would stand up in any court of law. After she made some phone calls, she wouldn't even answer the phone from me. When I finally called up with her, she told us we were in danger and should get out as fast as we could. The judge ruled we didn't have a lease and we had to get out. We had our crops planted and I wasn't leaving without them. He even went as far as ruling that hay is not a crop. And when I told him that I had it insured with the federal government, he says it don't mean a damn thing in Morgan County, and gave $75,000 worth of my hay to his buddy, the same assholes that caused us so much grief. Then the threats continued and harassment got worse. We lived on Knox Lane, a long dead-end dirt road. When they come back there at midnight with guns, even with a civil protection order, the sheriff refused to do anything. He told us since they owned the farm, they'd do anything they want. My wife was so scared she'd get physically sick. I wanted her to leave, but she wouldn't, because she was afraid what I would do. Her love kept me barely holding it together. But I made it clear, the next son of a bitch that threatens my wife, that would be the last thing they were going to do. For the life of me, I could not imagine how the Wilsons and McConkeys had such a hold over the sheriff and the others. The pieces of the puzzle came together, though, when I met an old gentleman named Red Hall. Even though they bragged about how they caught the sheriff's son breaking into a business, I still could not imagine the risk they went through to protect these assholes. Red filled in the missing pieces. He was old and in failing health, and he didn't care what anybody thought. Red made a living of running drugs from Texas and California back to Morgan County. This business was one of the drop-off points. In a last-ditch attempt to get help, I decided to go to Columbus. My wife was mad and said we were just wasting her time. I told her we have to do everything humanly possible to get this settled legally and possible and peacefully. She was right as usual. The first stop was the governor's office. When we told them what was going on down here, they seemed baffled of why we thought the governor would care. They refused to even look into it. The state cop that was there told us we ought to pack our bags and run away. My wife got upset about having to leave the area where we buried our little girl, and she put her hand on her gun and told us to get out. The next stop was the Attorney General's office. After we explained our situation, she told us, "You're not going to like what I'm going to tell you." I told her I knew what she was going to say, but I wanted to hear it out of her own mouth. She explained how Ohio was a home rule state, and I think it was enacted in around 1912. The governor, the Attorney General, the BCI, and even the state cops have no legal right to set foot in any county of Ohio without permission of the sheriff. But if you bought a bed refrigerator, maybe we could help you with that. I just shook my head and left. That crooked sheriff from Athens County, who is now in prison, has more authority than the governor of Ohio. After that, we went to the U.S. Attorney General's office. At least they seemed interested in our story. They agreed when I said they already knew what was going on down here in the hills. They told me they wanted us to talk with our lawyer and they would get back to us. Eventually they did, and what they said was what was going on down here was illegal, but at that time they just don't care. Then we went to Channel 6, where we met an investigative reporter. With them always running off at the mouth about trying to help people, I thought maybe they'd help us. They weren't interested in the story at all. When I asked him if someone got killed, would that make a better story? Oh, he says if that happens, we can be there in about 40 minutes. So much for 6 on your side. I had about all I could stand, so we just headed home. I called our lawyer and told him that the Attorney General was looking for him. Then we went to bed. Next day we had a hearing, and when we got there, the sheriff says, "Hey, I hear your lawyer quit." Well, I said, "I don't know." I said, "We talked with him yesterday. He said he'd be here." So when we went in and sat down, the judge asked us, "Why'd your lawyer quit?" I told him the U.S. Attorney General was looking for him. I wish you could have heard him. He was screaming and banging his fist on the bench. He was hollering, "That fucking Attorney General's got no jurisdiction down here, and that damn U.S. Attorney General ain't going to do anything to me. This is my county." I just sat there and shook my head. That lawyer backdated that he quit 2 weeks before that, and we never heard from him again. After we got our crops off, we sold our cows to be killed, sent the calves crop to auction. We were able to rent a warehouse down along the river, and we moved off the farm. That nightmare really took a toll on my wife. I believe it changed her more than losing Jesse in that car accident. She's never quite the same after that. We were able to rent a large farm off of the Snoffers, who own the funeral homes in the Zanesville area. It went well for 2 years. We wanted to put up a storage barn for hay, So we had an amended lease drawn up. They both agreed on that and the 3-year extension after that. Having the farm secured for a while, we invested about $100,000 in buildings and equipment. We were able to rent more ground in the area, and things were going well. After receiving and spending the first year's rent payment on the lease extension, they filed for divorce. We then learned what for greedy liars they were. They put the farm up for auction, but never told the realtor that it was leased out. They canceled the sale a day before it was to be held and didn't tell anybody. People showed up the next day for the sale and not knowing it was even canceled. Then they sued us for $400,000 for stopping the sale. We spent every last dollar we had on a Columbus lawyer. And then under oath, they admitted they lied and we have not done anything wrong in the first place. And there we found ourselves back in front of that crooked judge again. The Snoffers lived with the sheriff and his mom worked at the courthouse. So you can imagine what chances we had. It was a joke. I filed formal charges against a judge with the Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Board. Their job is to ensure the integrity of the Ohio court system. They're as worthless as tits on a boar hog. I got a letter from the Ohio Bar Association, and I asked them why they were involved in the case. They said they didn't know, but they made it very clear they weren't going to do anything anyways. Just scum lawyers protecting other scum lawyers. I'm all alone now. I lost my friend, my love, my wife. In fear of what was coming again, she left the area. And I do not think what I'm going through does not happen anywhere else to some degree or another. Whether it's in these southern hellholes, up north, or in the large cities. The common man has no legal recourse. The rich and the connected have the law on their side, and the rest of us just get screwed. In all reality, there is no state government in Ohio. Kasich and the rest of those worthless yahoos in Columbus have full knowledge the way we have to live down here. And they do nothing. They don't give a damn. Money and power is all they care about. All they talk about is the foreign terrorists and the threat they pose. The corrupt politicians, gangs, drug cartels, and everything else like that will kill 1,000 more times people than ISIS ever will. The government cannot save this country. Only the people can save a nation. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a sad joke for most Ohioans. The American dream I grew up with is no longer available to most people. These politicians need to address the hatred and frustration the American people have before all hell breaks loose. The people of America need to send Kasich back to Ohio to be governor to the people before he thinks he ought to be a leader to a nation. When this story hits the news, my life expectancy is going to be very short. And I'm making as many preparations as I can. I built my own casket, welded in an urn, found the cheapest place I could to burn my body. And I'm counting on the people to protect my wife when I'm gone. I have lost close to $500,000 to these scum since I've been here in Ohio. The cost of my health and well-being, you could not even put a price on it. They push you till you can't take anymore, and I'm there. I am not looking to die, and I'm not suicidal. But if you're not willing to stand up for your freedom and what's right, you're already dead. Men and women are willing to go overseas to fight for people that hate the American. Why are you so surprised that people are willing to stand here for your freedoms and to protect our homes and the way of life our founding fathers and countless others sacrificed all to give us. I have stood alone and probably will die alone for taking a stand against this filth and corruption. I have done my very best in everything I have ever done. And that's all you can ask of anyone. To my family, my friends, I love you. Do not grieve for me, because I chose the path I took and done the very best I can. Thank you very much to the people that took time to listen to my story. There will come a time when you hope someone will listen to your story too. Thank you.